I'm going to continue trying this live format. Let's see how this goes. I know that I did not set a specific time, so I want to see how many of you can join me here live. And if you're watching the replay, welcome. So, full disclosure right up front, I'm still recovering from a, a COVID experience that took me to some very, very dark places. I'm not 100% recovered yet, but I'm feeling more like myself now. And so I will be looking at my notes over here to my right so that I can stay on track. That's been the hardest part for me, is just not feeling like I have a little bit of the brain fog, and I'm not fully able to just keep my train of thought all the time. So bear with me here, and thank you for being here. So a topic that, if you've been following me on other social media places like TikTok and Instagram, something that I've been talking about for some time now is about conscious relationships and everything that goes into that. So recognizing the patterns that are not working, addressing old wounds that we have yet to take a look at and heal, and how all of that impacts the way that we show up in our relationships and the way that we experience our relationships, especially our intimate relationships. So today I wanted to share with you three things that are absolute musts in creating a more conscious relationship. Now, a little bit of context on where I'm at and what brought me to this point, to even care about talking about conscious relationships and um, and be bringing this message to you now. So I've been married for almost 16 years, and we have 4 kids, and a lot of you already know that. But for those of you who don't, as you can imagine, when we got married, it wasn't exactly a conscious relationship. I didn't know what the fuck that was. We just knew that we were crazy about each other, and we wanted to spend the rest of our lives together. And we were 20 when we got married. So we were just kids, and then we became parents immediately. So which I'll go into in a little bit, and how that relates or may relate to you. So I know from personal experience that it is no walk in the park to start out in what let's consider a typical relationship where we bond over our traumas, and we're actually looking to have our partner meet the parts in ourselves that we are not willing to meet, and we expect them to be our fulfillment. We expect them to be our source of happiness and wholeness and well-being, and that just does not work. And we learned that the hard way. I don't know about you, but yeah, it took us some years, about the first decade of our marriage, to really discover that it just that was unrealistic to expect of our relationship. Not only that, but it created a lot more damage and pain and trauma within the relationship. So on top of that, we went through our personal hell with all of the health challenges and all the different things that we've experienced in our lives. But I won't get into that right now. I talk about that in a lot of other places. So what I want to share with you are 3 things that are indispensable in shifting from having an unconscious, let's just call it an unconscious relationship, where you're operating in your unconscious pain and wounds and things that you don't really know yet and understand about yourself. So building more self-awareness and having a relationship that is based on trust and respect and love, and not manipulation and looking to have our needs met in covert ways that we don't even realize that we're doing it. I hope that this is making sense. Again, I'm trying to finesse my brain to get on board with me today. It's still been a little bit of a challenge. So the first thing, I'm just going to share 3 things, and pretty briefly too. The first thing is shadow work. So those of you who are familiar with what shadow work is, you're like, yeah, of course, that's just a part of living a conscious life, right? So the shadow work, let's go back to what the shadow is. So all of us have a shadow. It doesn't mean that it's bad. Okay, it's often actually what we have judged as bad. These aspects of ourselves. Yes, hi and welcome. Thank you. It does make sense. So we're gonna get into this too and make even more sense out of it. The shadow is all of these aspects of ourselves that we have denied, that we have repressed, that we judge, that we reject, those parts of us that we have disowned. I'm not going to go super deep into this. I actually do have a course, a shadow work starter course that is included in the Keep Coming Intimacy bundle. So all of those of you who have the Keep Coming bundle, I'm going to include a link to this in afterwards when I post this video, or you can go to lucylampy.com. To help you to discover these parts of yourselves that are still in the shadow. So what we do, it's not about getting rid of any parts of yourself. It's about bringing light, shedding light, shining a light on what's in the shadow, bringing it to light so that you can be more fully with it and accept it and love it and integrate it into the fullness of who you are. There is no such thing as getting rid of a part of yourself. If anyone ever tells you that that's possible, or that it's possible to kill your ego, or that's, to me personally, the most dangerous space to be in, to think that we can just get rid of the dark, shadowy parts of ourselves or our ego, because it's just a part of being in this human experience. So the key is not to kill it or try to make it subdue it, or just keep it hidden away. That's the opposite of what we're trying to do here. We want to bring these parts of ourselves to the light, and think of it as building a relationship with these parts of yourself, so that you and your higher self, your fuller, your fuller self, truer self, can be in the driver's seat. Okay, while you still have all these aspects of you in the vehicle with you. Let's say you're like in a giant aircraft, okay? And you've got all these different aspects of yourself that are on board with you, and they're not going anywhere. You can't kick them out. They're gonna be there with you. So you make it a practice to listen to them. What are they telling you? What are these fears? What are these unresolved, unhealed pains? And you work with these shadow aspects of yourself. So as you can imagine, the more that you integrate these parts of yourself that you have long disowned and rejected, the way that you show up in your relationship is going to change. You'll notice that instead of having as much self-judgment and as much judgment towards your partner, as many intense triggers, as they say, if it's I think I may have mentioned this in another video, but if it's hysterical, it's historical. If you have a hysterical reaction to something, there's a deep root there, and more than one layer. It's not a one-time thing to deal with. The more that we can become aware of where we judge ourselves and forgive ourselves and integrate these parts of ourselves, we're going to be able to extend more compassion and understanding and genuine love towards other people. And let's just talk about specifically your romantic partner. So if you remember that everything that we are projecting onto everything. We project our own fears, our own judgments, our own pain onto our partner. So where I don't want this to go is into a game of trying to fix everything or heal everything, because that in and of itself can be a trap. We heal so that we can be more free, we can be more whole, we can have a deeper sense of peace and well-being, and we don't have to be struggling and efforting so fucking hard at everything all the time. So just a little side note there, because there can be, what I see and what I've experienced myself is that in this whole spiritual awakening and inner healing journey, ego wants us to now hyperfixate on the healing process, and this is it now, this is what we do now, we're just healing, and you forget that you can enjoy your life. Does that make sense? Okay. Anyways, so I digress on that. So first thing, shadow work. It's really easy. It's really easy. The openings will always be there. Whenever it's time for you to work through something, it's going to come up. It's going to come up through your triggers, the things that are irritating you about your partner. Use those triggers as opportunities to further shine a light on whatever is going on in a deeper level in yourself. I'm getting out of breath talking. This is how this. Whew, I'm telling you, it's been a doozy. And I think that I missed a comment here from someone. Always say is not about letting go, but to accept. Yeah. And if you're letting go of something, it's letting go of the resistance. It's the resistance that gets in the way. So if there's anything you're going to let go of, it's just that resistance, that like, we're holding on so tightly and we can't receive. Yeah. So the second thing is inner child healing. Now, there's a lot of overlap in shadow work and inner child work. And inner child meaning not just you at like 3 years old or 7 years old or 9 years old, but throughout your entire developmental human experience. Now, psychologically speaking, they say that between 0 and 7, that's when you're like a sponge, right? Absorbing how the environment works. You learn what love looks like, how the world works, how relationships work, what's normal. And so a lot of these patterns that we carry into adulthood were created in this tender time, but that's not the only time that you can pick up on things and belief systems and things that are not working for you today. So inner child healing, I also have a course on this. So, and of course, none of these courses are like all comprehensive, and they're gonna like guide you through all the stages and all of the layers. But there are key practices and tools that you can use as things surface along your journey. Okay, and this course I actually offer for free. So if you're on my mailing list, and if you're a subscriber already on of the Wild Awakening, then you'll get this course for free. So FYI. I want to make sure that everyone can have these tools. When it comes to the inner child, there's so much. It's so powerful. It's so dense. It's so rich with opportunities to become more fully holy you. Now, as you begin to do the inner child healing work, you're gonna come across a whole lot of stuff. Okay, for example, attachment wounds. Oh, you've probably heard of anxious attachment, avoidant attachment. It's more rare than common for us to hear about someone who grew up with a healthy attachment. And so a lot of people find themselves feeling very anxiously attached to their partner or avoidant. And furthermore, a lot of couples will find that their traumas are compatible. Their traumas were very compatible, and that was like, whoop, that immediately got them to connect, had that chemistry that they were like, I don't know why, we just fell in love so hard, so fast. That was us. I was a very avoidant attached person, and he was a very anxious attached person. So he was all about me. His whole world was me. And I just wanted so badly for someone to make me their whole world, because I had some really big dad abandonment pains that I've been actively working through and healing through as the layers surface for several years now. And so what would happen is he would again make everything about me, right? Like put me first in bed, in life, like all these things. But because he was unaware of what was driving him and the wounds that were still unhealed in him, then he would resent me for being the one that would, all this stuff. You recognize this week I'm avoiding attachment, but yeah. And so me being my one of my very highest values being freedom, anytime that he would get a little bit too like clingy, I get away. I need my space. I need some space. And then that would freak him out more, because now like, where am I going? Where's Lucy going? Why isn't she paying attention to me? So you can see how over time, these things will become clear, whether you're doing the work or not. So as you begin to be more conscious about how you're showing up in your life, in your body, what you're, um, just how you're showing up, period. But again, specifically in this context for this video, how you're showing up in this relationship. Your intimate relationship can be the most powerful container, can be, or it can be the worst fucking hell. It can be the most powerful container for personal growth and healing and awakening. Because whatever your partner is mirroring back to you is right there. It's right there in your face. You can't get away from it, or you can try. And that'll just add to the experience of hell and disconnection. I've been there. So inner child healing, there's some other things that you'll notice. Fear of abandonment, fear of being betrayed. Whatever you have not yet looked at and healed in yourself is going to come up. It's going to be triggered. It's just a matter of time. Codependency, enmeshment, seeing the ways that you self-abandon to stay in relationship. Oh, that's a big one. That was, I think, probably the biggest, or at least one of the biggest things for me in relationship. Fear of opening up and being upfront. Yeah. And so you see it that, like, why? Why are you afraid of opening up? Probably because you don't want to be rejected. You don't want to be rejected. You don't want to be judged. There's two big things that have historically gotten in the way in our relationship and in so many of the women and the couples that I've worked with and work with now. It's the fear of being judged and the fear of being rejected, which go hand in hand. It's like, if you judge me, then you're probably also rejecting me. If you're rejecting me, there's a reason that you're rejecting me, because I'm not good enough. That there's something broken about me. And the more whole and the more full of well-being and genuine love and peace you are within yourself, the less judged you are going to feel, even if the other person is actually judging the shit out of you. And you carry that into just your conversations with your partner, and you begin to notice how charged, how emotionally, energetically charged, a lot of the, let's just bring it back to conflicts, how charged the conflicts are with judgment and rejection. And we don't even notice it because it's so normal. We've been practicing it for so long. We've seen it in action. And so that's what we've learned. That's how we've learned to show up in relationship. That's how we've learned to fight. That's how we've learned that disagreements are unsafe. And by the way, a big part of creating a conscious relationship is learning how to navigate conflict, learning how to disagree, and how to still have a deep reverence for each other and a respect, and not have to bow to our own ego's need to be right. That's a hard one. So, okay, number three. How long have we been going here? Ooh, okay, okay, we're good. You're good? We're still good here? And I will be posting this replay, so if there's any part of this that you want to go back to or watch, or let it sink in a little bit further, a little deeper, then you definitely will be able to do that. The third thing is not so much a practice of any like shadow work or inner child healing or embodiment. Embodiment's another great one, but I'm not going to include this in here. Is to stop treating your partner like your child and your parent. Okay, I'm going to break this down a little bit more. I was actually having a conversation with a really good friend yesterday, and it came out, and I was like, oh my God, this is wow. Often we have no fucking idea how to be a partner. We don't know how to be a partner. Nobody really teaches us how to be a healthy, attached, interdependent partner. Oh, this reminds me that I really want to talk with you all about the 3 stages of relationship at some point. Maybe I'm putting a pin in this for myself. We have the most experience for those of us who grew up, everybody was pretty much, I think, with rare exceptions, caretaken by somebody, raised by someone. So we have seen modeled for us the parent-child relationship. And I would dare say that most of us didn't witness the best example of that. So what do? We end up bringing those parent-child dynamics into our romantic relationship, thinking that it's partnership, but we're actually still trying to reach for control. We're trying to parent our partner. And whenever we get into these deep moments of emotional despair and triggers and all of the old stuff comes up, the intense inner child stuff comes up, we look to our partners to parent us in the way that we needed to be parented in the first place. So it's this dynamic that just doesn't work, where we are kind of fumbling our way through figuring out how the hell to be a partner. And what does that mean? What does it look like in real life, in the day-to-day, to not have to parent your partner and not have to look to them as your parent whenever your little wounded inner child needs to be reparented. And so you learn, again, not step two, but tip number two, right? How to reparent your inner child in the way that that child needed to be parented, what was missing for them. Everybody's got it. It doesn't matter how amazing your parents are. I have 4 kids. I know that each one of my kids will has this already. It's impossible for anyone to have all of their needs met by their parents. And each one of them have different needs and different levels of emotional and mental and spiritual and energetic and physical, all these different things. It's like everybody has their needs met, right? Nobody's starving, nobody's sleeping on the street, but we have so many more needs as human beings. I'm sure you know this. So this is where things can get a little bit really put to the test. Okay, and you begin to notice, you begin to become more conscious of where you are trying to parent your partner, control them, tell them what to do, remind them to pick up after themselves. Here's a big one. Here's a big one for the parents out there. When the moms, I've heard this for so many years, when the moms are feeling overwhelmed and exhausted because they're always the ones doing the thing, whatever the thing is, carrying the mental load, carrying the physical load. And I'm just going to be very blunt with this. Oftentimes we create that for ourselves. I know I did. I created that for myself. I created all these burdens for myself for multiple reasons. I think it'll take me a long time to go in depth into this, but because I thought that that's just what moms do. That's what they're supposed to do. B, I didn't really trust him to do it right, or I needed it to be done my way. So I don't give him a chance to do it his way. C, I believe that my self-worth was tied up in how much I was doing as a mother. So why would I hand any more responsibilities to him? Anyways, this is something that comes up a lot with parents, where the moms are doing, efforting, working so much more in the family dynamic than the father is. And then they complain that, I have to keep basically parenting my husband and telling him what to do and how to be, and he becomes more passive, less attractive, resentments, passive aggressiveness, all that stuff happening beneath the surface. It just does not work. So when we become more aware of in what ways we are looking to our partner to reparent us, to reparent our inner child for us, and in what ways we are trying to control and even punish and discipline our partners as if we were a parent to them. And then I would, next step, challenge you to have these conversations with your partner when you have these aha moments. For example, it was just during this COVID experience, Thank you, Danielle, and I'm so glad you're here. I'm so glad you're here. I guess the comments disappear after a second, so I want to make sure I read them when they come up. I just had this realization at the beginning of this whole COVID thing, which hit on August the 1st for us. It was like the peak of the triple conjunction and all this crazy stuff that's happening astrologically. And we're like, of course, this is when all of this, is happening. It's been like a pressure cooker for us. But I realized how much and it's funny when you think of things in retrospect, even if it's just 1 or 2 weeks ago, how much I have relied on self-pity in our relationship to try to get him to do more or do something different or just to feel bad for me. Example, I get COVID, I still have work to do. I still have things that I had committed to doing, calls. I rescheduled and pushed back as much as I could, but there were still some things that I needed to show up to. And just having this whole attitude of like, oh, woe is me. I feel like shit and I got to do this and you don't have to do this thing, but I do. And just so that he would take on more of the load around the house. All I have to do is ask him and he's more than happy to do it. Even big, deep stuff. I can talk about, hey, you know what? I noticed this behavior in you this is how it's affecting me. And 99% of the time, I don't get that pushback from him. We've done a lot of work in ourselves and with each other. This is how we're here. But I had this aha moment of, oh my God, I totally still try to get you to pity me. And there was this one night that we went to bed and there's this particular way that he touches me, that he like strokes my back when he's feeling sorry for me. And that had such an ick factor. I was like, what the fuck am I doing? I'm letting him believe that I'm suffering more than I actually am so that I can get a little bit of extra pity and a little bit of extra like love, even though he's also feeling like shit and night sweats every night, So it's just like these little aha moments, these openings that we have, these moments of clarity of like, oh my God, I do this. What? And then the first instant thing that we want to do is judge ourselves and shame ourselves. Like, how could you? You're supposed to be more evolved than this. You're more conscious than this. We're fucking human. We have human moments with this whole human thing. It's like one big crazy ride. So like if there's one thing that it does not help to do, for sure, like ever, is to judge ourselves and put that pressure on ourselves to be perfect. I don't know about you, but I have historically, notoriously put this pressure of perfection on myself and then beat myself up when it's not perfect. Anyway, so I told him about this. I was like, you know what? Here's this thing that I do that I've noticed that I've done our entire relationship. And I want you to know that I see this and I'm working on this. And we had a dialogue about it. We talked about it. We connected over it. And that also helps your partner to be able to trust you more. That you're being upfront and honest and vulnerable about who you are and the things that you're going through and not like second guessing is he, are they withholding some part of their heart, even when it's very uncomfortable or when it feels embarrassing. And that also requires that vulnerability to even put that part of yourself out there to be seen, exposing yourself, exposing these shadow things that have been in the dark and bringing them to light in front of this other person that you very much don't want to be judged or rejected by. So, okay, y'all. I think that's this is a little bit longer than I expected, and I hope that actually what I would love to hear from you is what's the number one thing that you're getting from this, and if something clicked for you during any of these points, I would love to hear those. I would love to hear what that is. School bullies have a lot to answer for. Oh, that's a hard one too. I know. Yeah. You're welcome and thank you for tuning in. And also for anyone watching the live or the replay, if you want to go deeper into the tools, as I mentioned before, the Keep Coming Intimacy Bundle would be my number one recommendation outside of personal coaching or coming to the couples retreat with us in October. Um, the Intimacy Bundle will have tools to help you uncover more of these shadowy parts of yourself that you have not yet embraced and integrated and learned to come to a place of acceptance with. So there's that, and then it includes the self-pleasure course, which has been the number one course that I've created for women that I get testimonials about nearly every single day. And then the Come Together course, which is a 6-week intimacy course for couples. And that also includes more tools to navigate conflict, disagreements, moments of like disharmony and disconnection, along with a whole bunch of other stuff. So I'm gonna include that in the link in the bio, the link in the description in a few minutes, or you can go to lucylampy.com for all the good stuff. And thank you again for joining me today, and I hope you have a beautiful rest of the day. All right, bye everybody.